Hello, and welcome back to yet another stream of Boomeadow Builds. We are back building the hells of my homebrew world, and we are finally working on a different quarter tonight. So far we have made our way through the Feywild, the Material Plane, and now we are working on the hells. As you can see, we have a lovely quarter of it already done. Hopefully it will go a little bit quicker now that I know what I'm kind of doing with the landscaping, the colouring. We shall see. However, there are plenty of opportunities in which we can name things and change the names of things and all this kind of stuff. I believe that I do owe Evil One apparently putting the town or city, the town or the city of Bob in every circle. So we'll see. Yes, so we are slowly making our way towards finishing up this. I have been alerted that I do need to apparently change one of the names of my rewards to avoid any mishaps like that happening again. However, as you can see, we are starting fresh, basically, with what appears to be a new quarter. The only thing there are where the circle lines are for where this will be a continuation on to the rest of the hells. So I do know that I need to go through here and make this into the pink and blue candy coloured mountains of the Tenebrous Blades. We have a whole hill region here which needs to be named yet, and we have the continuation of the River Acheron through here. So the first thing I need to go through and do, I give no quarter. Well, I have fixed that, hopefully. So we'll see how we go. I do need to rename, firstly, some of the seas here and whatnot, and the hills, and the bays. I think Witchdark Reef and Pentacle Bay I'm going to keep, because it does seem to be the one kind of that I have had going the whole time. So we'll do that, and Silver Candle Sea. We will see if my mistyping ends up continuing to be terrible. I have been typing terribly tonight. Hello everyone who has just joined me to watch. It is wonderful to have you here. We are finally working on the rest of the world, basically. Now, this is one time where I actually don't think I need the world map, for the pure basis that none of these places are going to match. I can also get rid of the trees. We start as a basis and start from scratch so we can see what we're doing. And additionally, these white lines can also go, because this is just where I was using as a kind of guide and a measure to figure out where the quarters were, so that I would eventually be able to put these maps back together properly. And yes, apparently we need the city of Bob in every circle of hell. Why Bob though? I do have to question, why Bob? I am hoping that all of you who have joined are having a wonderful night, by the way. Wonderful morning, night, afternoon, you know, all of the times of the day, wherever you might be in the world. What should I name this bay? Fair enough, that is a very good point. Bob Bay. Yes, but you want Bob Bay, Boo Bay, all of them. Okay. All of this coloration is going to change anyway because it's not the same. These snow areas are not the usual snow areas. Now, I was very good, and when I was building this, as I'm looking at this, because I do have a copy of the map in front of me that I'd already created, so I can make sure that I'm not creating any massive fallacies. But the River Acheron is going to come out roughly here. And I hope the end of your stream went well, Eva One. I did try to catch it right up until the end. But until I get a separator for my audio, unfortunately I didn't quite catch the end. And it would appear, okay. So we get to start picking out all of the colours. And this is the fun bit where I ended up spending a lot of time blending, making pretty. It's great fun. all I've written down for this is grass. So, I'm going to assume it's this, and I've got written down somewhere, size 11. Which will be here. And I'm going to assume all of this is going to be green. Whoop, and that wouldn't even be green anyway. It's good when I can pay attention to my own map guides. See, something about this just isn't looking right. Bear with me a sec. I'll put you on the map so you can have a look already, just as I go back and actually check my own annotations. Through most of the build, I was actually pretty fastidious about writing it down, apart from when I started, apparently. It would appear that is not helpful to me either. So, that in mind, I will pick whatever green I like. And make a note of it this time and then go fix it with all of the others. See, I can't pick a green that I like for this grass, and this is the problem. This is where this map usually takes me a very long time. You know what? That one will do. What are you? Okay, so now that I've made a note of that for future reference, always a good plan to do. It turns out I've got a lot of little pits just open here. I should just fill in. Okay, so we're putting in a secondary river here because there is actually a river here. So yes, along with putting a town of Bob in every circle of hell, because apparently Bob is infinite, Bob is life, we will now proceed to inhabit this dust bowl. Okay. So yes. Okay, I think I've suitably done the green. At least I wrote down what all the mountains were, so I guess that was a good thing. Nope, completely off of that one too, because that should be here. Because the candy pink hell nightmare is that third circle. I'm feeling the saturation is a bit too high. Surround in. It's even brighter pink. We like that. That's darker. Hi, Spinner. Sorry I missed you the other day. I ended up having a migraine and ended up sleeping most of the day away, so I apologize for that. Not my usual MO, but here we are. Does happen occasionally. Yeah, feeling much better now. Sleep, water, rest, all that jazz. I also got this nifty little thing which kind of helps with my posture while sitting at the computer so much as I have been lately, so... Because I, for one, would like to have less migraines. But how are you this evening, Spinner? Yes, new quarter. Finally. Oh, there can be a river that goes through there because I briefly thought then that there couldn't be a river through there because this is a floating island. The floating islands are actually lower down, so... A lighthouse? I'm not sure. Why do you ask? Now I've got more of the names written down for these bits. Okay. Okay, bear with me one moment. I will be right back. All right. Just had to get up and have a little bit of a walk around. I was feeling a bit of the old sleep demons getting me. Which happens to me sometimes. I don't know about you guys. Working on computers all the time, just staring at a computer, gets your brain. So, the area having a lighthouse. I know that this came up a little while ago, but I hadn't honestly thought about it. There is a possibility. Okay. Shadows. Shadows. Background. And textures. This one. At 0.3. I mean, a lot of it is coastal. There is that aspect to it. I do need to rename. Part of me wants to keep this, but it doesn't make sense. I mean, could there be a glacial wall in Purgatory? What are your thoughts? The glacial wall and the dark mountains here, should I keep them as dark mountains or should I actually change them to like the green mountains we've done in other regions? Okay, now I've got that there. That's cool, but maybe I should put the cliffs in though, because this will give me a better feel for it. Okay, we'll find some cliffs. That'll help me. I also need to put in the water cliffs and it'll give me a bit more of an indication of where I'm going with this. Yes, my brain completely fell out there for a second. It has been a long day. However, I did actually catch, I think maybe an hour of Evil One's Warhammer painting stream. So that was good. Which, if you do like Warhammer, go on over to Evil One occasionally. I'm sure they would really, really love that. But he will be the first to tell you that he's not really intensely knowledgeable about the lore and things like this. However, he is open to learning. And what about all of you guys? How has your D&D been this week? How have your games gone? Any fun stories? We love stories. I mean, that doesn't seem the right colour. We'll get it in a minute. That looks a bit better. Now, if we're following that around, there isn't actually there's a small cliff there. This is always the tricky part, finding the things you want. Might have to keep with the consistency, I think. I've got and placing these mountains in. I might actually be able to create this as some kind of barrier this way. Perhaps. Turn this off for now because I know that this is going to follow this line. Oh, this one. Why are you so blurry? That would be why. You have blur on you for whatever reason. Is that still? No, that's not going to maintain, so that's too long. But I do want something that's going to go across there. This is always a struggle, finding the pieces that you want. You know what? No, it doesn't make sense to have this here because this is going to extend all the way across. So if I do this, and I'll bring up the soil around it, I think. And And so this is just kind of just playing around, experimenting until I kind of get this kind of result that I want. I liked that one, and I think it was one of these I liked. To bring this along with this line here, it seemed to hug the coast really nicely just there. Yes. The question is, do I also put a little piece here? The pink line is basically a radial line telling me where each of the circles of hell are. To basically give, if I show you the world map, see, it gives it this. And so I went along eventually and added all these waterfalls so you get this kind of drop effect. And so this guideline basically, especially when the, not so much the land lines, but the water lines, it actually really, really helped. And it keeps it really smooth, and it just gives me a guideline that I can kind of aim for so I can make it look natural as well. That's the key here. It's got to look like it's deliberate and natural, and it's supposed to be like that, which some of it is, as long as it's not on the edge of the map where it has to meet up with another piece of the world, I can, for example, add a little bit of dirt here, a little bit of dirt there. There is a level of it being a hell-based story. The actual start of the story is predominantly actually going to be in the Feywild, or my world's version of the Feywild now. There is kind of like, there is a level where the Feywild itself is almost going to kind of be a little bit like the material plane that people, well, what people expect of the material plane. Whereas the material plane of this world is going to end up feeling more like the Hells, and in its bureaucraticness and the fact that it's highly essentially a lawful plane, the Hells are actually going to feel a lot more celestial, just because of the events that have happened that have led to the world being fractured the way that it is. So yeah, there is that element that comes into play with it like that, so, which I'm really, really excited for. This circle, bring this down, keep that. This is obviously all going to come darker, but for now, just get all those colours in the way they should be. And this again will be yeah, and so this part of the world that I'm just building is, yeah, going to have a lot of that feel of, oh, this is the Hells. This is, I don't know when the players will end up getting to this part of the story. To be honest, will we get here at all? No. Am I being extra by creating the world map? Probably. Yeah, probably. I do have a tendency to go over the top with my world building though. And, you know, there is such a level of established world lore with this as well. Do I want to see... Is this going to be a bad dad joke? Do I need to prepare myself? What joke is that? Why joke is that? That's a really bad joke. What? Oh. I appreciate the humor though, Evil One. Thank you. Yes, I have been working on, around my work, I have been working on a trailer for this game to hopefully give everyone a sense of what the game is going to be about. Hopefully. I'm very proud of what I've done so far. It's just a matter of time. I hope you guys are all having a lovely Saturday evening though. Because, you know, that's what we hope for. That everyone's just having a good time. See, the thing is, I went in and put in all these waterfalls. And then I realized I'd spent a lot of time shading that drop off. But at the same time, it's one of those things, like, it's a little detail thing, but it ended up making it look really, really good. And yeah, so sometimes I feel like sometimes when I'm doing just really pointless kind of levels of shading and things like this, you know, it's one of those efforts in perseverance of just keep going, just keep working at it and working at it and working at it until you kind of end up with this product that you kind of were aiming for and that you would wanted, kind of thing. So which I feel like it was a sentiment that was that kind of came up in Evil One stream earlier, that sometimes I look at all of these maps built by other people, and I've really had a real bout of this off of the back of trying to create this trailer, because, you know, I really tend to be a bit of an overachiever, really, when it comes to the kind of artwork I want to produce for this. Are you singing song lyrics to me, man? Thank you. I'll keep that in mind. I've been trying... Like, I'm in no means an animator by any stretch of the imagination. Not at all. And even then, there is a level to it which I look at the artwork that some people produce for their like player characters and commissions that they do and things like this, and I just get really frustrated sometimes because I have this idea in my head about how I want something to look, and when it doesn't achieve that, I get really, really frustrated. And this is even more so in trying to create the trailer for this game that's coming up, because, you know, I want to make sure it's compelling. I want to make it something that, you know, will entice you guys to want to watch the game when it finally starts. And I can't help but compare myself to other artists out there and things like this about like wanting my art to be at a specific place and getting really frustrated with myself when I'm not reaching that same level. You know, and even that being said, like, I've created a lot of artwork for like Evil One's channel and Evil One's games and things like this. So I know that there are people out there that would look at the art that I have produced and go, well, that's awesome. Like, what do you think? Like, what are you talking about? Your artwork's good. Like, why are you being crazy? But it's just really frustrating for me because, you know, I will have this image in my head of the product that I actually want to produce. And I originally, for the title intro of the game that I was going to have this fully animated intro, and I wanted the characters to like it to be a proper fully animated intro. And then I had to remind myself that it's great that I'm focusing on doing this intro, but the reality is animated intros usually have dozens of people working on them, or if they don't, they take months. And so giving myself a bit of that reality check to realize that maybe I was expecting too much of myself, because, you know, hopefully you guys are going to look at what I do anyway and just be impressed with it regardless. Unless it's really janky, in which, you know, I don't blame you for letting me have it. But, you know, like, I know that my little floaty boo ghost at the start, a couple of people have, you know, commented on how it's a bit janky, and they're not wrong. But I think that's one of the things that D&D has actually really helped me with. Like, I know that I am a crazy perfectionist when it comes to what I want to achieve with things. But DMing has actually really helped me realize that you don't have to control everything. Sometimes if things don't go according to plan, like, it can also, even if it doesn't go according to plan, it can also produce some really, really cool outcomes that I wouldn't have anticipated. And on that front, like, D&D has really helped me with that. So we're going to have to change all these mountains to our hot pink mountains. Courtesy of you guys, of course. Now, hopefully that music isn't too loud for you guys. Obviously, I would hate to be blasting out your eardrums. Are you guys singing to each other? Because if so, that is hilarious for me. Maybe. Well, I think it's wonderful that you're serenading each other, Spinner. I think over on his channel, Evil One said that for our upcoming... So, on Evil One's channel, we have an upcoming Power Rangers game, I believe, in which we will be starring from their own YouTube channel, from their own Twitch channel, Uzumeka, and I'm not sure what Tommy goes by, Evil One. Does he go by Barricade, or is that just in Discord? But they will be joining me as a Power Ranger. At this stage, I am the Blue Power Ranger, but that might be subject to change if we can't find an aforementioned Pink Power Ranger, because we are currently looking for a Pink Power Ranger to join us for a game of Power Rangers, which I believe... Now, you did say during your stream what rule set it is, because it's not a D20 rule set. So you could... What? Is it Epic Games? I believe. They actually have the, according to the colours of the Power Rangers as to what they are, they actually have particular specializations to each coloured ranger. Essence 20, there you go. Yeah, no, they have different specializations depending on what Power Ranger you are. I think the only one that we're not running at the moment, so we have blue, red, yellow, and I want to say green. Do we have green or black? Oh, there you go. They can evolve to white or other colours. Yeah, we weren't allowed to have white to start with, because I know that there was a white Power Ranger, which that was a really cool little story arc. I did like the story of Tommy, because obviously Power Rangers were... Well, Power Rangers I think is still... I don't know, is Power Rangers still kicking around as a TV show? So red, blue, pink, yellow, black is the original 5 that we're starting with. So yeah, I think we're just looking for a Pink Ranger, which I cannot remember what they stand for. Need the extra books for the evolutions. Yes, that is in the works to get you those books. I know that, Evil One. But yeah, so over on Evil One's channel, we've actually been... Evil One is a fabulous D&D dungeon master. But lately, over on his channel, we have actually been branching out to try new things. Thank you, Spinner, for the hydration station. It is always nice to know that you are making sure that I am drinking water, not just soft drink, energy drink, or the Zoom Zoom Speed Juice, otherwise known as coffee, just to make sure that everyone is clear what Zoom Zoom Speed Juice is. Oh, yes. I am a coffee fan. I love coffee. Well, this is the thing. If I put in a reward for Zoom Zoom Speed Juice, I am a little bit concerned that I would die. I am a coffee fan. I do love my coffee. And when I say coffee, in Australia, when we generally say coffee, we're either talking instant powder coffee, or a lot of us Australians do have Nespresso or espresso machines. So, yes. No, I am a little bit of a coffee. I suppose you would say that I am a coffee snob. I do have a subscription with my local roast house where I get coffee beans sent to me every month. Which is a medium roast for anyone who wants to know. Patio coffee roasters, they are fabulous. So I love coffee. Evil One hates coffee. Evil One doesn't do hot drinks and doesn't do ice in drinks either. He likes cold drinks, but it is not allowed to have ice in it at all. And no hot chocolate, no coffee, not for Evil One. I've gotten more into tea as I've gotten more into tea as I have gotten more into my voice acting, just because it does actually help, especially when because my job, my normal real world job, I'm an audiobook narrator, so drinking a lot of tea does help me when I am working. So, because coffee is not always conducive to doing long reading sessions of dialogue and things like this. So, apparently, ice in drinks dilutes it, and why would you pay for ice? So, I have had these discussions with Evil One, and frappes apparently are the devil. However, Evil One has invested, I believe, in icy cups that you put in the freezer, and it's like a double-walled cup, and it gets really, really cold. So you don't have to have ice in your drinks. Which, honestly, I think that is a brilliant idea. It's a good way to have your cake and eat it too, I guess. Because, yeah, cold drinks are important. In Australia, we obviously have cordial as well that you can flavour your water with, which I think, now forgive me if I'm wrong, I think the equivalent is kind of like Kool-Aid in America. Whereas we have usually good old coddies over here in Australia. Yeah, see, I mean, I don't mind ice in my drinks. I'm fine with ice in my drinks. But yes, Evil One and I do have big discussions on ice in drinks and things like that. The sugar-free knockoff version of cordial. What is the sugar-free version? See, because I know that we do have like a sugar-free version of cordial as well. But if you're gonna drink cordial, just drink. I think, and the way that I think a lot of Australians see it is, if you're gonna drink cordial, just drink cordial, man. Like. Hey, as long as you enjoy the taste, I honestly don't think it matters as long as you're enjoying what you're drinking. But, you know, as time has gone on, I have, not that I drink a lot of soft drink and things like this, but, you know, I have found that some of the low sugar alternatives and things like this now, of like your Pepsis and your Cokes and things like this, are actually passable. But what about you guys? Like, what is your, I suppose, soft drink hop of choice? You know, do you prefer fizzy? Do you prefer a flat? Do you prefer milk based? What is your drink of choice? Ocean Spray, yeah, no, I know Ocean Spray. Yeah, exactly. Cotties do a sugar-free one. I suppose I can understand sugar-free cordials because some people just generally don't like the taste of water. And I think that having like a sugar-free substitute so you can still be somewhat, well, some people just don't like the taste of water. Like I have relatives who have very strong opinions about water, which I think is ridiculous, but you know, at the end of the day, wild water is the best. As long as you're keeping hydrated, that's what matters, I think. It depends on if sugar affects you like that, though. Like, for me, sugar doesn't affect me like that. Too many coffees can, just because of the caffeine, but I also have enough sleep problems as it is, so... That's one area where caffeine and I can tend not to be friends. Yes, more often than not, I tend to end up being called out for being a snack badger. We call it being a snack badger between me and my friend. Basically, a snack badger is somebody who just snacks a lot and is just craving snacks and stuff. Although we do have a special obligatory role as if you are playing a game or something, you're playing a game or whatever, and you have a friend or a relative or someone that you live with that comes by and just like stays off screen. If we're using cams, they stay off screen but they're handing the person a snack. They are called being a snack ghost. The mysterious ghost that lives in your house that no one's ever seen, but somehow you always get snacks. That's just what we kind of share amongst our friends. I think part of it came around because a couple of the people we play with, while we use cams, they do tend to use, I suppose in a way they're green screens, so that their background is blurred, or they blur the background behind them and things like this. But especially the green screen ones, you won't see the person at all. They're just completely blended out until like a bowl of something just comes floating through the shot. So yeah, that's kind of where that came from. And we ended up thinking that it was just really funny, and we just it was a thing that we kind of just ended up kind of just existing, and we actually it was just really funny, and we just kind of kept it around after that. So why is this not in order? Because that's gluttony and that's greed. Okay, trying to figure out what I've done. This actually needs to come down to here, and that mountain range, I need to put in a new mountain range of pink candy corn, basically. Take that out. Move all this greed. I think on the end here. But yeah, so I've had some interesting ideas floated to me by the 2/3 players that I have potentially for this game. But yes, very shortly I will be putting the application up. I'll be putting the application up for the additional players for this game up on Roll20, so keep your eye out for it. It will be under the title The State of Anarchy, as I've been referring to it. And of course everybody is welcome to apply if they would like to. Obviously we are going to be streaming it. At this stage, it's probably not going to be cams. We'll probably do something similar to what we do on Evil One's channel, which is basically moving avatar heads that speak. So we'll probably do that. And yeah, it'll most likely be story heavy. It'll probably be intrigue heavy. Obviously there is world lore there if people are intrigued by world lore. And yeah, pretty much everybody is welcome to apply if they would like to. I mean, obviously anybody who has kind of watched my channel now for a little while kind of know a bit about the kind of DM that I am, the kind of style I'm likely to run and play and things like this. So yeah, very story heavy, very lore heavy, lots of intrigue if you like that kind of stuff. I don't especially require my players to be heroes per se, but they do have to have, eventually once they decide to be a team. Yeah, chaotic style, you'd be surprised. Chaotic does seem to be the type of players that I pull in, and that's fine. We love a good chaotic team over here. But it is a case of, yeah, there are consequences to your actions in my games, in my world. So, you know, yeah, as long as there's a balance, I don't mind if my players in character fight amongst themselves, as long as, you know, they're aware that the first rule above all else in all my games is it is a game. Real life will always take precedence over game life. So if for whatever reason you can't make it, just even if it's only like 5 minutes beforehand, just let me know. You don't have to go into detail. Just tell me you can't make it for whatever reason. Yeah, I know, real life. But I feel that it's a really important balance to kind of like point out in my games, because the fact is we are all, there is that level of social etiquette. Even though it's an online game, there is a level of social etiquette that I do kind of require from my players, insofar as we are all here, we are all playing a game to enjoy ourselves, for escapism. And just because you're on a computer behind a screen doesn't mean that, you know, you are alleviated from that social contract of respect and politeness, basically. You know, so for example, if your characters fight in game, that's fine. The only thing I don't allow is I won't allow players to kill each other in game. Player characters to kill each other. I won't allow it, just because it does nothing but breed animosity. There is no solid reason, but if your character is legitimately not getting along with the party for whatever reason, you know, that's something we can work on together and, you know, figure out a solution to, as opposed to, oh, you've been annoying us, I'm going to kill your character. Like, that never ends well. And it's not fair either, you know. As I've stated before, I have really learned the hard way of asking players to change the way they're playing their character just so that other players are happy. Like, that's not fair either. So, obviously, yeah, definitely. The only area where it does start to, obviously, the only other area where I do have a kind of like rule set per se. Oh, no, you can. But the one area where you do need to, in the end, when your characters decide to come together as an adventuring party, eventually, because that does happen most of the time, because that's why we're here, it's a collaborative story effort. You don't have to be good not everybody in the party has to be good, but they do have to have a common goal. Like, very loose base goal. Like, oh, we want to, for an example, stop the apocalypse. Yeah, we all have to, we've all decided we're all going to stop the apocalypse. You guys can have different ideas about what that's going to look like. That is okay, because that conflict is part of your story. Yeah, exactly. Because everybody at the table, including the DM, and I think a lot of new DMs kind of forget this, everybody at the table, including the DM, should be enjoying themselves. Oh, you can do what you like, especially in this particular game what I'm thinking with this is essentially your characters, or the characters, I should say, they are essentially being set up as freedom fighters. They are going to be going against the tyranny of the witch queens. They are, if they so choose, obviously. Like, there is a level where I do let the players dictate what they're interested in a story. Because obviously, there's no point just throwing a story at you if your characters aren't interested in it. So, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, one character was not from, well, he's a complicated character to kind of explain because he was a part of the world, but he ended up finding himself in a different time. But these evil witch queens were essentially an entity that he had fought for a lot of his life. He was part of a freedom fighting force known as the Moonlight Wolves. And yeah, and you can do that. Like, for all of the, like, there is an element where previous players' characters are still in the world. But obviously, those characters will come into play in some aspects or not come into play at all. Like, for example, if somebody wants to play a cleric, there is the explicit idea that your character, like, we will then have to work on, okay, what does your character's faith and belief look like? Because the connection to the gods at this point in time in this world is going to be very tenuous. There are not a lot of true clerics left in the world. Just like there is not going to be, like, if you're a magic user, like an arcane magic user, you're either going to be treated with doubt and suspicion, or again, you are somebody, unless you're a wild magic sorcerer, obviously, which also fits in perfectly with the story. I actually don't. I am absolutely 100% fine if I have characters with the same class, because no two characters are ever going to play that class the same. I have run a party with like 4 clerics and a bard. And none of those clerics, none of them, not one, took Spare the Dying. Yeah, because at the end of it, and I mean, there are areas where I do allow third-party materials, or not necessarily homebrew per se. I don't let like a player come in with their own homebrew and go, this is what I want to play. But for example, if there's like some really well-documented third-party stuff or whatever, and I have a read through it and I don't notice anything glaringly wrong with it initially, I will usually let a player kind of run with it, with the heavy caveat that as we are playing, at any time, if something seems broken or something's not working, we are able to amend it. It is a work in progress, playtest. So, and there is that caveat. So I do give that heavy warning to people who want to do that in my games, that be aware that if you have picked this on the element of it ending up really, really broken, be aware that there will be limiters put on if something's not working. So, you know, yeah, and that's exactly it. And obviously, the longer I play with people, because obviously some of the people that I have played with, I've played with for years now, so they know my style. And I also do tend to give away, throughout the game, I will work with the players to, you know, give them magic spells that aren't, you know, like official spells and stuff. Like I have a lot of third-party materials, like a lot of the I, for example, have allowed almost all of the races from Heliana's, which is Heliana's Guide to Monster Hunting, which is a Kickstarter that I backed. I am allowing certain races and classes from the Corpus Angelus and the Corpus Malicious. Again, another Kickstarter I backed. So, you know, because I would much prefer my players to play something that they want to play and things like this as well, but also to be aware that if they push the world in my games, the world is going to push back, i.e. if you become a tyrant, the world is going to push back, and for example, there are going to be people who are going to come after you. There are going to, you know, bad guys, if you deliberately make yourself a thorn in the bad guy's side, the bad guys are going to come after you. They are going to come after, you know, the people, because I do give my players a questionnaire of about 40 questions, and that dictates, you can either do the questionnaire before you write your backstory or after you write your backstory. It is completely up to you. But it's questions like, who raised you? Who are the people important to you? This is the area where you can write your end. Yeah, lawful evil is still evil, but lawful evil is understandable evil. Like, they believe they're doing the right thing, but they will do whatever it takes to get that, like within, as long as they are not breaking any laws, you know, or the laws of the universe or things like this. They will stretch that. And that's why, like, for example, in this particular setting, because of what has happened in the past, the Aasimar of the world actually live in the Hells now, because they are all corrupted angels because of the actions of the Dark Quarry and what they did and the eugenics that they undertook to basically create these perfect vessels that they could possess, you know. And so now the Aasimar live in the Hells, because the Hells is a lawful place, you know. It is a lawful plane of existence, and any Aasimar that, you know, aren't raised there, you know, are in Anthalamir, which is the material plane. But, you know, a lot of them, and the Hells in my particular situation, I use the Hells and the Abyss simultaneously. I put them in the same place because I like having access to demons and devils as, you know, similar entities. So, my Hells isn't your atypical opinion of this Christianic hell per se. Like, we've got the circles. There is a bit of a tie to that, obviously, the Dante's Inferno, the Christianic hell and all this kind of stuff. But I also like it to have elements of other underworlds. Technically, it's the underworld, and there are spheres within this underworld that deal with punishing wrongdoers and things like this, as you would imagine from an atypical hell perspective. But it's not just a realm of the dead. Like, the realm of the dead is something different. Yeah, exactly. And I don't do blanket things. Like, there's not blanket racism, there's not blanket sexism, but that's not to say that you won't interact with people who are racist, sexist, or, well, I don't necessarily say racist, it's more speciesist. because obviously depending on the species of the area, the location, the climate, obviously there are going to be, for example, as I've talked about before, the Aarakocra of my world I have created, or at least making access to there being different subspecies of Aarakocra. So it's not just your eagle species of Aarakocra. For example, if you're from a snowy, wintry region, say the Winter Court area of the Feywild, well, you could play a penguin Aarakocra. It makes sense. You're not a great flyer because it doesn't make sense, but you're great with ice and snow. Yeah, and you know what? Having closed-mindedness and closed-minded people, yeah, they are everywhere. You are going to have small towns that don't understand that, I would much prefer to run it that there are small groups of people or individuals who are closed-minded, backward, because they just don't understand, because that's the reality of the world, and that's a reality of society. Most often than not, if people stay in, and this is my experience because I grew up in a small country town, generally people who stay in small countries, towns, and don't seek to expand themselves, they don't grow outside of what they grew up with and things like this, yeah, generally you are going to end up with these situations where, they don't, and this, like I've said, this is just my experience, they're not generally terrible people, they're not generally absolutely awful or anything like this on purpose, but the reality is, I mean, look at throughout history. If people don't know about something or aren't sure how to take something, they end up shunning it or making up a reason for, for example, if they don't understand medicine, clearly they're a witch, that's like a back in the day, and, and so it's more just, for example, tieflings. A good example in my world is tieflings. Tieflings are not unequivocally hated just because they're tieflings, because they're from hell. Because hell is just a bureaucracy in my world. They're not evil. They legitimately just, they're businessmen. And they kind of have the opinion that if you are silly enough to fall for their sales pitch, is that their fault? Yeah, exactly. Their legitimate thing is just to sell you a product, and where they're from, yeah, there's no necessarily true, actually that's not true. There are true evil areas, but this is the thing, it is true chaotic evil. You at least understand that there is nothing you can do to reason with it. Because this is the thing, animals and things like this aren't inherently evil. They usually have a reason for doing things. It is really rare to meet true evil in the world. But yes, when you are discovering true chaotic evil within my world, not that I rely heavily on, if you're picking this up, I don't rely heavily on on your alignments, because I believe everybody is, you generally see that no one is truly good or one way or the other. But true evil, you cannot reason with it. You cannot barter with it. You cannot, because they will betray you. They cannot be trusted. They will always think of themselves. You cannot reason with them, buy them. They are expecting you to trick them. They are, all of these things. So it is very much this case of, yeah, there is very little you're going to be able to do to trick it. And there are areas where it is true evil, and this is where you are going to see your true evil areas of like the chaotic planes and things like this. Exactly. And it only really comes into play, obviously, if you are using a lot of spells. Exactly. And that is exactly it. And this is one area where we, the previous party that took place in the third era, they came up against the sin of wrath. And the sin of wrath in and of itself was an entity of true evil, chaotic evil. They were a being of complete wrath. I allow mind control in all of my games, with the caveat to my players that if the players have mind control, so do the bad guys. However, if I am going to mind control a player, or there is a possibility of a character being mind controlled, first of all, if you are absolutely against mind control for personal real world reasons, that will actually very deeply impact you. Obviously, session 0 is the point to say that, because obviously that is something that needs to be respected. However, I do go in with the caveat that yes, there is a chance your characters will be mind controlled, but it is rarely going to be, you have to do this thing now. Usually I do it in a way that it still gives the player autonomy on how that mind control is orchestrated. The rule is still, say the rule is you have to kill this person and you can't tell them, but your character can figure out how they're going to do that in a way that, you know, there's a story reason. They can try and... I will always, even if you fail... I mean, a nat 1 is still a nat 1. Yeah, it's rarely going to be a long period of time. Recently, in my Tuesday game, we do have one player, Tide Runner, whose character has actually been possessed by a mind worm. But when I did take him aside to discuss with him how this was going to play out, it was a case of, it is going to gently coerce you. It is going to tell you things, to do things. But basically, I will get you to make a wisdom save, and you can pass or depending on if you pass or fail, will depend on if you can act on this. And so if he failed, generally it would be a really vague thing like the entity, the mind worm in his head didn't like a conversation, the way a conversation was going, because it was getting too close to the truth. So it would just turn around and tell him, you know, change the subject, find a way to change the subject, make them talk about something else. Yeah. And so it was up to him how he was going to orchestrate that, as opposed to me going, you now have to do this. Because that's not good storytelling, and it's not fun for the player. That being said, I know, for example, in Evil One's campaign, there was a campaign that I played in with Evil One, where their barbarian, I think, had a 4 intelligence or a 4 wisdom or something. Failed, I think it was like 12 wisdom saving throws to not be possessed by a demon. I think it was a symbiote. I think it was Carnage, specifically Carnage. It was a very pop culture game. But they failed like 12, 13 wisdom saving throws to not be possessed and destroy the whole party. At some point, there's consequences. Like, yeah. And I think the biggest important thing about it is making sure your players are aware of your expectations, your rules. Like, for example, if I have mind control in my game, I'm never going to abuse that to take advantage of a player's personal self. Like, for example, I'm not going to use it for sexual coercion or anything like that. I think that's gross. It's not necessary. It's usually going to be if anything, it's almost always going to be doing something that's going to betray the party and create conflict. Because, let's be honest, all of these stories exist because there is conflict. At the end of the day, D&D is still a combat game. There is a level of roleplay to it, and I agree, and things like this. And there is exploration and all this kind of stuff. But the reality is the players are going to get into a fight. They are going to get into combat. They are going to have to stand up against evil. But this is the thing. Without conflict, the story doesn't go anywhere. But that being said, I understand at some tables, they legitimately want to be playing out their character just living their lives and stuff happens to them. The reality is, though, that I tend to do epic world fantasy kind of stuff. So, I'm definitely not going to say, on par with the Lord of the Rings or anything like this. I'm not going to toot that horn because I honestly don't believe that I'm that, as talented as, Tolkien or, anything like that. But it is the fact that I like writing epic world fantasy. I like writing the tropes. There's a reason that they're so fantastic and so great and so beloved and so used. Yes, they're predictable. But for a lot of us who play this game, that's why we play it. We want to feel like heroes. We want to feel like we've beaten the bad guy. We want, we want that stuff. Yeah, and that's the thing. I write fantasy games and in fantasy worlds. And, my players, I want them to have the autonomy to be as cool as they want to be. But at the same time, if that's causing other players to not enjoy themselves, and that is an element that I've kind of struggled with in the past as well, which is, managing players, turning around and saying to a player, hey, what you're doing isn't working. Other players have come to me, and I've had it completely blow up in my face as well. So, where I've turned around and said to a player, hey, this isn't working. It's impacting the enjoyment of other players, blah, blah, blah. And, I've had them turn around and get mad at me because I'm clearly making it up because otherwise people would have said anything, which comes back to the aforementioned social contract thing, so because at the end of the day, I'm never going to call out if somebody comes to me, if one of my players comes to me and says, hey, I'm not having fun and this person's making me feel this way, I'm not going to turn around to the person who's being problematic and go, hey, such and such came to me. I'm never going to do that. Because it doesn't matter who it was, because we're not here to name call. The fact is, somebody's not having fun and it needs to stop. And that includes the DM too. And I will repeat this over and over and over again, that everybody at the table needs to have fun. So, yeah. Start recalculation. Basically, at character creation, I allow my players to roll. And it's usually the standard 4d6 d1. Unless it's an epic game in which they are going to be slightly more overpowered, in which I'll allow 5d6 d2. However, thanks to the wonderful Valcor, we now have a rule set that you have to have at least, I think it's 73 points. So I basically will allow you to re-roll until you have two sets of stats that reach 73, and you get to pick one of those two sets of stats. And then you can obviously attribute them wherever you want. As we go up, obviously for example, when you get to 4th level, you can choose ability score increases or a feat. I don't care, it's up to you. Thank you for the follow. I usually, I also, I usually allow for, people to take the average hit points or roll for it. Is completely, again, up to you. Basically, to a certain degree, I basically leave it up to my players. So yeah, I'm aware. It is very easy to, yes, it's really hard because I can actually say, so I may as well address this now. I have had disgruntled ex-players that have gone on to RPG horror stories and written stories about me, which of course they did decide to actually use my proper gamer tag to make a story about me, which of course, as with all of these kind of stories, there can be two sides to every story. Yeah. So of course they did completely, at least from a gaming standpoint, dox me so that people can find me now as a DM and harass me with it. And I can say that there are areas where I've made mistakes, and I'm happy to say that, I'm happy to admit I have made mistakes as a DM. Because these things do happen, and there are two sides to every story, and so it has led to people like finding me, harassing me, and even given all of that, I've still decided to, obviously, the pitfalls of streaming, exactly. And so occasionally we do have people come in and things like this. This is why some of my Nightbot stuff is so harsh, just because having to address it, because this story happened at this point 4 years ago. And yeah, they're still stalking and harassing me. So, and I mean, you've been around for a while now, Spinner, and people who have been around, yeah, having good mods help, yeah. But I am very open about the fact that I have made mistakes as a DM. There are areas where I have had to improve as a DM. I have had to change the way that I DM because, you know, I have needed to do better as a DM. And part of that was also learning to stick up for my game better, stick up for myself better, knowing when to let a player go. All of these things I really struggled with to begin with as a DM because I didn't want to impact how anyone had fun in my game. And a big part of that was obviously then it meant that I didn't really stand up for myself, which is why now, yeah, exactly. And it's one of the reasons why now I'm very, very much about my first rule is everybody at the table has to have fun, including the DM, because it did lead me to not have fun DMing. It led me to, it made me want to not DM anymore, because obviously I did cop a lot of hate from it, you know, and I've never been shy about the fact that I need to, I want to be the best DM I can for my players, and that's the reality of it. So, you know, we should all be here having fun. We should all, yeah, oh, don't worry, Spinner. It did consume me, and it really shot my confidence because, you know, it's hard not to believe that you are a terrible person when, you know, somebody is sending you links to, because obviously, you know, various YouTube channels that kind of cater to reading out those kind of Reddit stories and everything like that, it made it onto those. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's... Yeah, exactly. And it is a case of, you know, if you let it consume you, you know, you end up stopping doing things that you love. And it's one of the areas that if you want to have an online persona and you want to, you know, share what you love with like-minded people, there is always going to be people who don't like what you do. They don't, you know. Yeah. And the reality is I've had to really suck it up and get used to it. And because now my job that I have now requires me to have an online persona. People have to be able to find me. Because my job kind of requires it. I can't be a recluse, unfortunately. And yeah, exactly. And I think that's comes around then to, I mean, anyone who's been around my stream now for a while knows that I now, you know, have a lot of strong opinions on there is no such thing as bad players, even with, you know, these players, that ex-players of mine, disgruntled ex-players of mine. There's no such thing as bad players. I don't even now think they're bad players. I just think that they weren't compatible with my table. I wasn't a compatible DM with them. I wasn't the right DM for them. I didn't know how to handle what they wanted from me or my game. And, you know, I potentially dealt with things in ways that I could have done better. And hopefully over the last 4 years, hopefully I have been trying to do better. You know? But it did really impact me for a very long time. You know? And sometimes it can be hard to go past that. So, you know, but the fact is, I love DMing. I love telling a story. I you know, do tend to enjoy the collaborative storytelling. So, yeah. So, it is what it is. You know, I am not going to give up doing something I love and enjoy. Yeah, I do get to be a player. I have a couple of games that I'm in now. Obviously, I'm over on Evil One's channel. I also have been in games with other people that I play with and things like this, because yeah, it's important not to always be the DM. I mean, it is a hard one to say, obviously, because the whole forever DM thing. But yeah, no, I managed to find games with other friends and things like this, and you know, all of that kind of stuff. You know, finding time to still be a player, I think, is sometimes important. Which, I mean, for anyone who has been a DM knows it's easier said than done. So, but yeah, and that's kind of something that, you know, I've kind of bandied around now, which is the whole, if you're not having fun in a game, like, why would you force yourself to stay in that position? You know, at the end of the day, it's just a game. No game is worth your mental health. No game is worth, you know, no game should ever, regardless of good DM, bad DM, whatever, whether you get along with them or not, no game is ever worth your mental health. And I run you know, I really believe that, yeah, exactly. And I feel like that is a really, really strong point that you've pointed out there, Spinner, that nothing in your life is more important to you than feeling sane. And if you are ever in a situation where everything around you is making you feel like it's just too much, anything that's like a job or a game that you're playing or whatever, if it is literally making you not, like, if you ever, I'll use the game perspective on this, if you ever have a game coming up and you're going, ugh, I really don't want to go, just quit it. Don't force yourself to go because you don't want to upset somebody. You know? And this is one area where it's hard. Like, I've made some really wonderful friends in the online D&D community. I've made some really wonderful friends. And the reality is, though, you know, we are all acquaintances. The fact is, because it's an online sphere and because we're on Discord and things like this, I have had people just leave with no explanation. And yeah, it sucks. It really does suck when somebody leaves without saying anything, and you have to question, like, was it something I did, you know? But at the same time, you're never going to get that answer. And that's okay. So, yeah. You know, and it is the fact that, you know, it will... None of that is ever more important. Actually, I won't put that one in because we want to match that up. So now we can go continue in with some waterfalls and things like that. But yeah, so there you go. I have got my own fair share of horror stories, so... I mean, I say horror story, but, you know, it's... I think just an example of exactly what I was saying, though, that if you're not enjoying yourself, if you aren't meshing with what a DM is doing, or you don't like what a DM is doing, just leave the game. Because if it's attacking your peace of mind and how you're feeling, it's not worth it. I love it when the trolls are on fire tonight. The fact is, I won't ever say anything bad about any of the players that I've had in my games, because regardless of how we parted, I appreciate the fact that they were in my game in the first place, because let's be honest, a DM doesn't have a game unless people apply to it and want to play in it, so... And that's the reality of it. So now we're starting the water lines of these areas. And this spinner is why I have these pink guidelines, basically. So this will give me an idea of where these waterfalls will be. And from there, I can actually start to give them a bit more texture. So it's not just a smooth line. River this is, but when we start the next quarter, you can heavily assume it's one of the 5 rivers of the Greek underworld. Let's do a quick save. Most of the music I use is from either Chillhop or GameChops. Which at the moment I'm actually using Chillhop.
doing, man? Is we gonna kick a beat or what?
We're gonna kick the beat. We're gonna kick the ill beat.
We'll drop it.
So, we are currently working on this water area, which eventually there will be waterfalls in here too, because these are drop-offs to hell. So we've got the different circles of hell. From Purgatory, we've got the Circle of Lust, the Circle of Gluttony, Circle of Greed, Wrath, Sloth, Envy, Pride, and finally Treachery. And so we'll eventually have waterfalls in here, just to give it a bit more perspective. Yeah, it is just a process, Spinner, of slowly building it up bit by bit and just trying not to be too perfect about it. And it's, you know, because it's got the colours up here, you can go through and sweep through and see if like this is starting to get a bit dark. I can go back over with another colour, which is the blanket colour, and lighten again. And the key is to do it instead of lots of little areas where it can overlap, just doing larger portions, and then you can bring it in a little bit further with the darker colours. And this is why I love this advanced settings area, because you can change things up. As you've seen throughout this whole map as we've been going, you can colour it, you know, change the colours of the brush and make it very specific. You know, and because these are the world maps, I don't mind spending that little bit of extra time getting it. Yeah. I do also like the fact that you can put your own stamp assets in. Like I've got a couple of skyscrapers and stuff like that I've been building as well. So if you can hear me clapping, I've got like just a little bug that has managed to get inside, flying around all my lights that I've got around me. I'm just trying to catch it. Because as much as I like it being around me, I don't mind it being around me. I don't particularly like it when it's in my face. And yeah, so a lot of this shading and stuff is just a matter of because this is a drop off as well, this line can actually kind of end up being quite stark. And that's okay, because we're going to go in with the waterfalls. See, here we go, like this. And these are what's going to actually end up giving a lot of these some of their perspectives and stuff. So I think and this is actually what's going to give it this perspective that they're falling downwards, basically. We've also, as well, I mean, I know we're talking map building, but after finishing, I know we've been talking, now that we've finished Turnip Boy. Yeah. We've been talking Turnip Boy and all that kind of stuff, and we've finished that up recently. I've had my video up, so we've been, I think it's been kind of decided that we're going to probably start Hollow Knight. So yeah, so going through with these waterfall brushes, this will actually give it that detail that makes it look like it's falling down into layers. So yeah, we've been talking about so Turnip Boy's finished up, but so what I think I'm gonna start up is on Tuesday. We'll probably start up Hollow Knight. So yeah. I had thought potentially Lost in Random because it's got that kind of dice rolly kind of area to it, this like aspect to it. So yeah. So yeah. So basically that's where we go with that like that. Are you also map building as well? I know that you do that, Spinner. I know you do that sometimes while we're doing this too.
Is everybody in the groove? Well, stick around. We're just warming up, baby.
Thank you, Spinner, for the stretch redeem. Yes, I hope you have also remembered to stretch along with that. that stretch. I will be right back. Give me 1 second. I need to get some more water. I come back to seeing that message spinner. Yeah, I suppose that counts as stretching. That definitely counts as stretching. If it works for cats, it should be able to work for us. Oh, quick, do a save. So let's have a look. Yes, love it when we're still kind of following the line. I did end up going through with the last one and having to correct it a little bit, so because I wasn't 100% happy with how it looked. But so far, it looks like we are on course. But yes, so we're going to be starting up Hollow Knight, which anyone who has seen me play video games, this is either going to go terribly or it's going to be okay. What matters is we're having fun and doing our best. And hopefully it is a good story to boot. I'm hoping. I don't know much about it, so I'm hoping that it's going to be a really, really good story. Ooh, that is a tough question. Because not including a session. Well, a session will almost always be 3 hours for me. But in terms of how long a campaign goes, generally because I run very roleplay heavy campaigns, and I have groups that tend to separate a lot into groups of like 3, 4, 2, 3 kind of, and go off and do different things at different times. I mean, the longest I've had a campaign go for is 3.5 years, and it finished up, and after 3.5 years, and that was with pretty close to being like weekly games. I do tend to take a break around the Christmas holidays for about through most of December and pretty much all of January, restarting in February when school goes back and things like that, because like I've said repeatedly, life is important to me and the little community I play with and all this kind of stuff. So it's really important that my players, and regardless of whether they have kids or not, whether they have uni or work or whatever, it's really important that they actually get to enjoy the time they have with their families, or their friends, or just doing other things. But yeah, the longest I've had a campaign go for, but I can't tell you how many sessions. If we're looking at, you're asking me to do math. Now this is going to be a hard part. So usually, so that one would have gone, that one went about 210 sessions, roughly, give or take. But yeah, I had to do maths. So yeah, 210 sessions. I do usually record my sessions because I record the sessions and usually upload them to a private like Google Drive or something that I give my players access to, because I'm not particularly great when it comes to note-taking. As you've probably seen on this stream, I find it really hard to talk and type out information at the same time. And so therefore I would really prefer, when I'm DMing, to be there in the moment with my players playing the game. And so I record it. And also I know that I've had a number of players who, are not great at taking notes, or for various reasons and things like this, and so I make it a resource that's available to everyone to watch. It is private. It is not shared with the wider world or public. Obviously this game's going to be different because it is going to be streamed, but this will be the first time I do something like this. So so that's going to be a little bit more different, but normally yes. I think I have all of the games that I have ever, I think barring the first year, I basically have a record of every game I've DM'd, and those files, some of them I did lose in early on pieces as I ended up having to change computers and things like this. But yeah, no, I actually have a record of almost all the games that I have run. So there is that. So, and I tend to, and like I said, I make them available to all my players just because I'm bad at note taking and I can't say squat to them about not taking proper notes if I don't take proper notes. So and so there are some players who don't take proper notes and they want to be reminded what happened last session. And so, in their commute and things like this, they, will listen to the audio and things like that. So... But yeah, so I can't come down on my players if they're not taking notes because, I don't take notes. So, and I will point out that there are points. I am fairly certain I am going to have a few people who get frustrated with the way that I DM in terms of, sometimes I might retcon something because I legit didn't remember that it happened that way or something. But I think that's all DMs to a certain degree. Like, as long as it's not going to inherently break the game. Yeah, exactly. And so going back over, like when we take our really big break, I like to go back over what happened in the last few sessions that we played. Yeah. I like to see that. And then obviously when we start a new year, I start a new folder. So it's basically confined to the years. So you can kind of narrow it down if you're looking for something specific that you're looking for. So. Yeah, if there's something specific you're looking for. And not only that, sometimes it's fun for me to go back and listen to some of the games to get ideas from my own work. And, there will be times where I'm like, for example, if I made a demon pact, like one of my players in my current Tuesday game, they had made a pact with an entity known as the Demon of the Seas. They're a pirate. And at the time, I didn't write down specifically what that deal that they had made, so I couldn't even remember what wiggle room I'd given myself. So going back and listening to it and helps me keep on track, but it also helps the players remember things that they may have forgotten. It's just, I think it's the wonder of digital note taking, basically. But yeah, no, to all players that I have coming in with like that kind of system as well, like I said, this new game that I'm running, it's going to be a little bit different because obviously I'm streaming it, so the caveat's a little different. But yeah, in previous years, I'd always turned around and, it's not something I've ever shared with the wider world or the public or anything like that because it was never about that at the time for me. So, whereas now, I thought it would be fun to stream. I've been having a lot of fun streaming over on Evil One's channel and, having a lot of fun with that. I've been having a lot of fun with this community that, we have here as well. And so part of me is like, yeah, I've been really enjoying all of this. And so I think it'd be really fun to actually let you guys see me put into practice my DMing and things like that. I know that like people have had questions about it, and you know, the fact is I just want to tell a fun story with a group of people who want to be in my world, who want to experience the world, who want to have fun, who, you know, just want to tell a story. You know, it's a fantasy story where they get to be the heroes, and if they, well, you know, if they decide they want to be heroes, obviously, but, you know, where they can have a real say in what happens to the world. You know what? Honestly, Spinner, having you around some days has made me at least feel like I'm not going crazy and talking to myself. And it is always great, you know, getting input from you while I'm playing games, or if it's even just to laugh at me dying several times to, you know, while I'm a little turnip man. Yeah, I felt so bad that day. I'm like, I warned you, I am terrible. Aw, thank you, Evil One. Yeah, Spinner, I actually think that you were one of my very first followers, which is why you now have one of the coveted VIP spots, I think. That turnip was fun. I do agree with you on that. The turnip was fun. Yeah. So hopefully you haven't been getting ads and things like this. Hopefully. That's what Twitch tells me that you should be getting. So, but it also means that you don't have to be like verified to chat and all this kind of stuff. Because you know, I feel like you have earned the position. You know, you've hung around this long. So clearly I haven't bored you to death with all of my map making yet. Like I said, I think you are one of the first followers I ever had when I started up this channel. And it means a lot to me that you show up during your work week. I'm like, the fact that you show up and you like chat and stuff, it's wonderful always having you here. So thank you. The other thing I believe that there is a level where I do have to stream for 60 days, but hopefully once I have streamed for that 60 days, which I'm a third of the way there already, as an affiliate, I can unlock free emotes. So once that happens, I will make sure that there is a level of emotes for you guys to actually use and you know, because obviously at the moment, Evil One and any of my actual subscribers, they get to see the custom little emotes. You can see like the little moving one that Evil One has posted there. And you know, I want all my followers to be able to access things like that. I think you just have to have streamed for 60 days in a 2-year period or something like this. It's something crazy. But you know, we'll get there eventually with the with the Wednesday long streams and the Saturday long streams now, because obviously I'm going to be streaming on Saturdays. Obviously not as late as this normally. I will be finishing up shortly. It's just because I started a bit later today because of family commitments. So, yes. Yeah, so eventually those will be available for you guys. Yeah, I actually did a whole heap of little things recently for it. So for whatever reason, I don't know why Evil One doesn't have a little icon. The later starts. Oh. Well, I should usually be finishing up by midnight. It's currently 12:30 where I am. But I could start a little later and have a little bit of instead of a 4-hour stream, have a 3-hour stream and start that a little bit later on Saturdays. I could do that. I just decided to move it away from the Fridays just because the competition was too hard, and having a short one on Monday is fine, but starting to get, oh god, yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, because starting at about 8 o'clock for me, it'd end up being really early, like 2 hours earlier for you, so 6 o'clock for you. And on a Saturday, you might actually have a life and do things that, that aren't on the computer, or have, other friends you want to hang out with. Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like, this time of year, I've usually got a lot of family parties and things like this, or a lot of events that I need to take care of, unfortunately, which is why I've kind of missed a couple of these streams recently during the day and things like this, just because, like all of these things, you adults got to adult and, go to appointments and things like this. So I have had to do some of those kind of things, but, we're here now, we're chilling, and, as long as everybody's having fun, that's what matters. And yeah, so work's also been pretty crazy. I have actually ended up busier than I had anticipated, which, don't get me wrong, in a situation of work, that's great. But obviously that does take up the time I would normally have to stream for you guys. To a certain degree, I do set my own schedule, but there is still a level that I have to get done, just like any job, I guess. Otherwise, I don't end up sleeping, and that goes back to the aforementioned mental health. Sleep is important, so, got to keep on top of that sleep schedule, which is not always easy. My sleep schedule is, iffy at best, and I think Evil One's is even worse than mine. Okay, now I'm intrigued. Twitch has a sleep category. What happens in the sleep category? Really? That's incredible. Really? Like, I mean, it makes sense. That's crazy. I'm fascinated. Well, there you go, Evil One is a category for sleeping. See, now I don't know. Could you sleep with sorry, it's called I'm Only Sleeping. So they're actually sleeping, not actually sleeping. I believe they're sleeping. I'm fascinated. Would you sleep on a stream with people watching you? Because I suppose it's not such a weird concept when you realize that, you know, for example, people do mukbangs and things like this. Well, I know, for example, there are some people who do eat on stream and things like this. So, you know, and I actually kind of understand this one. It's people who don't want to eat alone. And I find it really interesting. You'd have to mute all mics. Yeah, I don't know. I sleep talk a little bit, so I think you might be right with that one. Oh, hell no. I'm not sleeping on stream. 1,000 subs. Okay. I think we're a long way away from 1,000 subs. It would have to be a miracle for me to make 1,000 subs. Well, this is the thing. Very shortly, I'm not 100% sure, I'd have to ask Evil One, but I'm pretty sure our Power Rangers game, Uzu Mecha wants to use cams. So I'll have to make sure my cam's up and running, I think. I did think you were not supposed to, but I don't know how Twitch works these days. Yeah, so we're gonna have cams for Power Rangers. Which will be different for both Evil One and I, considering, you know. It is going to be different because neither of us have our faces on our Twitch channels. I also have to give a big thank you to Evil One for staying up and modding, considering it is almost 1:30. I did not say that. Now you're going to get me in trouble. I am not sleeping on stream. That would be a terrible idea. Yes, we all know you don't sleep that great, everyone. Yes, everyone and sleep are nemesis. I'd be more for the sleep stream. If I got to 1,000 subs, I would try to get Evil One to do a sleep stream, because that's hard. after all that I found the grass. So I'm going to make a note of that because I found the grass. It's one of these areas where I really like erasable pens. So I have made a note. So we now have grass. This waterfall all has to come down slightly because it is blocking the edge of that. You know what, with that being where it is, might actually be able to put a mountain in. You had to what? Purely for future evidence? Out of context, it's amazing. Okay. Now I'm concerned. What have I been caught saying out of context?
Is we gonna kick a beat or what?
We're gonna kick the beat. We're gonna kick the
Yo,
ill
we'll
beat.
drop it.
I'm sure I'll see it in a minute when I finish up and look at the clips. Alright, so we'll do a save. And with that, we have started Nethraeg Northeast. Hopefully this will move a bit faster now because I have all my notes and things like this. So, I mean, already the shading and everything is a heck of a lot faster than the first time we did this, so yay. But we have reached another end of Boomeadow Build's State of Anarchy, and this is where we are at so far with the map. Hopefully when I get the two pieces together it will look like one cohesive unit, but we'll try, and I'll probably have to blend a few things to make it all come together to make it look legit. However, thank you so much for joining me this evening. It is wonderful, as always, to have you here, have you all watching. Thank you to everybody that followed. Honestly, I couldn't do it without the followers of this channel. So, you know, it is what it is. So, it is looking great. It will look even better when we have the hot pink hills in instead of those snowy mountain peaks and things like this. So we'll see how we go. But otherwise, if you like what I do and you are not already following, please don't hesitate to hit the follow button. Or if you're feeling super generous, please hit the subscribe and turn on the follow so you know when I go live. Turn on notifications because that will bing and let you know when I'm going live. Otherwise, if you miss any of these streams or want to catch up on them for later or whatever, you can catch them over on my YouTube channel of the same name, Boomeadow. Otherwise, if you're wondering why I'm not streaming when I should be streaming, or just any additional information that I tend to share when I remember to do it, you can find that over on my Twitter, which is Boomeadow. Otherwise, it has been fantastic to have you here. I have as much fun as always. I will see you on Monday for more Boomeadow builds. And I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world. Remember to stay hydrated, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Bye.